Welcome to the Good Soil Collective. I'm Riann.
I'm Jaida.
I'm O'Neal.
And you found yourself on Good Soil.
Yeah, we rockin' with the good soil, good soil, good soil.
So something that has been on my mind this week, kind of crazy, is trust. Specifically about trusting myself, because there's a lot of things that I want to do, but I often found myself not doing or like falling off of. And part of that comes from like my own trust in myself.
Like doubting yourself?
Yes, but more like, okay, I guess the best example is on Monday, I went to the gym with Sharon and Debs actually. And I went swimming, right? I have been like putting off going swimming for so long because I don't like swimming. I really don't like my hair wet. I don't like my feet wet. Nothing like that. But I went and I was supposed to go again on Friday, but I didn't. That's because of Sharon. But anyways.
You were under the bus. That's because of Sharon.
Me not going like did something to the trust that I have in myself because I told myself I was going to the gym. And I think in a lot of like actions, I have like this thought of where I want to be at the end. But because I've so consistently lied to myself about what I was going to do and not done it, it affects my like ability or thought to myself of how realistic it is that I'm going to do what I set out to do.
Right.
And I like, that's just, it's straight like trust.
Your own reputation of yourself, you're like, this girl ain't gonna do that.
Literally that. So I wanted to like dive into that and be like, how are you guys like, first of all, like, do you trust yourself? Do you trust you, O'Neal? Do you trust you, Jaida? Because there are times when I don't trust me and I'm working on that, but.
The answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on what it is. When it comes to doing things and I guess making a plan and following through with it, for the most part, I trust myself with that because I tend to be a bit more disciplined in some areas, though.
Very organized.
Yeah.
Very, very. Girls got calendars on calendars.
But I think that's just from the way I've been disciplined by my parents growing up. Like, it's not all from me and my own drive. It's like, okay, if I don't do this, I'm going to get in trouble. But even though now at my big age, I'm not getting in trouble like that, it's still something in the back of my mind. But then on the flip side of that, as someone that struggles with anxiety, sometimes I can't trust what I'm thinking. And that's difficult. It's like, I can't trust, is what I'm thinking true? Is what I'm thinking like what I should be doing? Like, it's very difficult. So yes and no. Certain things I can trust myself. Other things it's like, don't listen to yourself, Jaida, like, 'cause that's completely wrong.
No, that's a good point. And I think that's super interesting that you're saying like that's how you were like raised. I think like in being an athlete, prior to kind of some of like the downfalls that I've had in my athletic journey, I was different. Like before, I'd be like, oh, I'm doing this, and I was doing it, but there was like a different determination because I think like playing sports like built in discipline. Like I had to go to practice or else I wasn't going to play, and that was something that I wanted to do. Now that there's like,
So were all of those related to soccer? Like,
what do you mean?
Like in terms of saying like you would do things that you said you were gonna do, was it because they all somehow related to soccer?
When I was younger, no, like I got like good grades because like I studied. Well, you know what? Sometimes I didn't, but when I did have to study, like I would study and I would get good grades. Like there's discipline in like, oh, I have to study before I do this, and I have to do this before I do that, because there was like an outcome goal, right? But now at my big age, it's like I think that there are just different things that like I don't want to say you categorize as like important, but it's true. Like I'm like there are things that I am disciplined with in regards to work because I know that they're going to give me money, and if I don't do it, they will not give me money. So, you know, I get to work on time, I finish my stuff on time, but the things that like I guess have like a further, what is the word?
A further end goal or reward
yeah,
date?
A further reward. Or even if the reward is more like internal and not kind of like tangible.
Right.
Yeah.
it's been harder for me to like.
I think I go through that too, where like if I can't see it's almost like if I can't see the immediate payoff, I'm less likely to do it. And I'm like,
Or you like push it back because you're like I don't see the immediate payoff. So it's like, if I don't go to the gym today, you know, is that really going to be a big deal when 3 months of going to the gym is what's going to get me the result? That one day, is it really going to mess anything up? But then one day becomes 17 and then.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get that. I think the one area, I was actually thinking about this like a few weeks ago, to be honest. And one of the things I realized for me is seeing that immediate payoff was something that like I realized like, yeah, I kind of need to see, like, I'll go and do like tennis lessons or something like that because immediately I can at least feel what's wrong. And I'm like, okay, now I know how to fix this. I know how to do that, whatever. But most things I find like, if it's not urgent, I'll like put it up. I'll procrastinate. I'll definitely procrastinate. The only thing I think I haven't really done that with is like emotional work, like emotional and cognitive, because I feel like that stuff is just, I've always been interested in that stuff. So I'm always trying to like have conversations and figure out like, where does this come from? Like, why do I react like this? How do I control my patients, and things of that nature. So I don't know what it is about the procrastination. Like, unlike you, like I didn't have parents that really like
pushed.
Yeah, like my mom would get upset, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I have no idea, because I'm hearing you say like your family structure is really what instilled that in you. I don't know what you were punished like as a child. Like, what was if you didn't do something?
Not heavy, not crazy. I think it's more so for me. Seeing how my brother didn't really follow the rules and he kind of went wayward, and I was like, ooh, I don't want to.
So you
follow
had like
that
a live
path.
example.
Yeah, I had that example, and I saw how it affected different people in my family. And then also I know for a fact that a lot of it is just like, I didn't like feeling that, like, oh, I don't like how this feels.
So
I don't like that
anxiety helped you.
Yeah, that's where it helps. Where it's like, if I know that there's a thing, like a deadline, even if it's far, I'm like, I know closer to the deadline, I'm going to feel more and more anxious, and to just get rid of that, I'm just going to, don't, because it bites you in the end. But to just, I don't know, to help me mentally cope, I'll break things down to smaller bite-sized pieces to then attack when I'm like, okay, this isn't so big and it's not gonna cause this stress if I do a part here, a part there, a part there. Yeah. So
that's crazy that you were doing that as a kid, because as a kid, I was waiting right until the end every single time, knowing that like
I couldn't. And also it's just what my dad had taught me, because he's very much of a, sometimes you just have to put your head down and do the work and get through it, and then you'll feel better afterward. That's how because also I was into sports, but more track. So that's how he trained me. He would give me options for, okay, we could do hills first, we can do sprints, or we can do, I don't know, like a 10-minute jog. So I would always choose the hardest thing first, because I knew that it would only make the other things easier. And I saw that, I guess because I saw that in the short term physically during practice, I was able to translate that into life. Where it's like, if I just get over this hard thing, sometimes you can't do the hard thing first, but if you just mentally prepare yourself, or I don't know, break it up in that way, it makes it easier down the road.
That's so interesting, because you both said the same thing about, and I don't know if you guys realize it, about being active in your lives. Like, it was a time where you were being physically active and physically disciplined, and
it translated,
and same thing for you. And I've noticed, like, when I go to the gym and stuff like that, or when I was like doing dance and stuff like that, it was much better. Like, the less I did it, the more muddled I think I felt I was. I do get a lot of clarity from like just like sweating and being physically active. So that's interesting. For anybody out there struggling, maybe you need to, I don't even know which one's my camera.
Your issue is you need to go to the gym.
You need to go to this. Be active.
But what I'll say is, I hate the gym. I hate it. So I struggle going to the gym.
Yeah.
I like activities. I hate the gym. So maybe don't go to the gym. Go join a club and do
That's true.
some type of activity.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah, I can't stand it. It's so boring. So
I also don't enjoy the gym, but I think that I enjoy it less now than I ever did. And it's because knowing how my body used to be and what it used to be able to do, and then now going to the gym and like,
it's like a reminder that like I used to crush this.
I'm literally like, I'm withering away.
But then if you don't go, you're just gonna wither further, and then
I mean, that's the reality of it. But when I think about it in my mind, it's just like so discouraging.
I hear you.
To be like,
yeah, I used to run this,
and
but maybe
now I'm like,
but then maybe change your goal line instead of like, man, I used to be able to lift 80. Oh, I don't know if you can. Curling 80 is wild to me, but let's just say
I wasn't there.
Let's just say you were curling 50, and you're like, oh, I used to curl 50. Now I can barely do 20. And just be like, okay, you know what? By the end of the year, I want to reach 30.
See, that's the thing. That's the where I'm like, oh, I've set a goal, and sometimes I've even gone as far as like jotting out week by week when I need to go and what I need to do, and then a day will come. Actually, I don't want to expose her like this, but it's for the good of conversation.
Sharon again, Sharon.
And it's for growth. And this is something that I started implementing in my life, like literally maybe about like 2 weeks ago. But I don't know. I've set out this whole weeks of I'm gonna do this, and maybe the first 2 weeks I'm doing good, and then the third week something happens where I cannot follow and stay on track. Then I'm like, oh. The whole plan is out the window. What do you mean I messed up on this one day? And then I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. Say I messed up on like a Tuesday. I'm like, well, I cannot get back on the plan until next Monday.
That's a real thing. The week is shot.
The whole week is shot. So I'm gonna, I don't know, say like if we're going towards like workout stuff, it's like I'm gonna eat well. I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times a week. If I mess it up on Tuesday,
next day you're at Krispy Kreme.
Every single day I'm eating junk food. What do you mean?
Okay, that's wild. That's
touching a gym. Am I any sort of like, ooh, a little bit of French fries? Sure, I can eat it until Monday.
3 poutines later, you're
Literally.
like, I don't like this.
And then if Monday comes and I'm not able to do it, I gotta push it till the next Monday. What do you mean?
So where's your accountability? Is it supposed to be Sharon?
Sometimes. I just don't tell anyone. And that's another thing. I don't tell anyone because of the trust issue that I have in myself, that I'm like, I'm not even really going to even get to this because I've already lied to myself so many times. So I'm not going to include anybody else because then only I know that I've lied.
So
So that it comes back to that whole trust issue. But what I've been trying to implement for the last 2 weeks is like every day is the beginning of the new week. So if I messed up on Tuesday, Wednesday is the beginning of the new week. Then I'm working Wednesday to Wednesday. If I mess up on Thursday, then I'm starting again and I'm working Thursday to Thursday. So if every day is the new week, then you never fall off. Well, not that you don't fall off, but like there's never a specific day that counts as like the restart or the refresh.
That's interesting.
Every day is a refresh.
I think mine is when I'm in a zone or I'm in a routine, I take that whole week thing and I make it the opposite. Like I can't ruin this week. Like I did Monday, I have let's say I'm working out 3 days a week and I can choose whatever days I want. I do Monday, I don't do Tuesday. I'm like, okay, I gotta do Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Like I gotta get it done.
So
I gotta keep the week. I gotta keep the record going.
That's so interesting.
But then if I come off of it and I miss it, for me, every day that I miss it feels like a wasted day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's getting longer. Eventually it's just like, okay, it's done. But like
so distressing.
I feel I feel like the weight of like, oh my God, I haven't done this in.
So I've been trying to just like, I guess it goes back to like your break things down thing. So even like, so I'm like, okay, like I'm starting over. Every day is every day. And then sometimes, like that doesn't even work. I'll have to break it down to like every moment by moment. Like, okay, I ate this fry and I wasn't supposed to.
One fry is a wild moment. That the whole basket is gonna be a moment for me. Like, you know what? I'm gonna have to eat this whole fry. Like,
but like, okay, not fry, but like, okay, whatever. Like I ate some fries and I'm like, oh no, you know what? I wasn't supposed to do that. Previously, I would have been like, the day is a write-off. I'm gonna eat whatever I want. I'm gonna eat that burger too. But now I'm like, you know what? I ate those fries. I wasn't supposed to. That moment is past. What, like, my next moment? What am I doing in my next moment?
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 2 weeks, you know, I've been on an up.
Okay.
So, you know, I've been on an up.
No. You're gonna what? You're gonna what?
We're gonna leave it
Accountability.
there.
What are you gonna do?
Leave it there.
Okay, now that I know, I'm gonna check it.
Yeah. But I think that what you're saying in terms of like not trusting yourself, that's where, and I get it's a very real thing to be like, you know what? I don't want to share this with Riann, because then now I'm gonna look bad in somebody else's eyes, or they're gonna think something about me or my character or whatever. But it's important because it'll give you an accurate view of yourself. Let's say like 3 months go by and someone's like, oh no, you keep saying you're going to, you know, write this poem, and it's been 3 months and you haven't written or started or whatever. Because we're very good as people of like always coming up with like excuses or being like, you know what?
Yep.
Work is just really hectic right now. You know what? I was feeling sick. You know what? I'm just going through a lot right now. I just need a mental break and da-da-da-da-da. And sometimes we need people and we need friends, contrary to popular belief, to be like, no excuses. Like, get it done.
I think that brings me into like, okay, so you trusting yourself affects obviously your own actions and stuff. But like where my thoughts also went was like how it affects your trust in God. Because sometimes, you know, like I walk around like, yeah, I trust God. What do you mean? God is my savior. God's my father. He's my everything. But are my actions lining up with that? Like that's something that I've like now added to like my weekly, like my reflection, to be like, did my actions align with the belief that I am trusting in God?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you make a good point. It's, you know how people say like everyone wants to be a king until it's time to do king stuff. It's the same thing I think with this. Everybody wants to trust God until it's time to trust God, and it's not easy. And I think absolutely, if you're not, I think there's two things, and it might sound paradoxical. I might not be able to trust myself, but I should always be able to trust God. In terms of trusting God, and in terms of laying things down to him, everybody's journey, this sounds cliche to say, but everybody's journey is different. What trusting God looks like to everybody is different, and there are increments and steps to faith, but the idea should be to be letting go when you're supposed to be letting go. After you've done all you can do, you just kind of stand on his word, sort of thing. But I think, again, accountability comes into that. If you're trusting, I think with all these things, if we keep trying to do it on our own, I think we're going to keep failing. So I think we always need accountability to help us understand, well, what does trusting God in this situation look like?
Yeah.
Right? I can't give like an example because there's so many different things, but like, number one, have I done everything that I can do? There's a difference between trusting God and just being hopeful. And what I mean by that is like, I'm just going to do this thing and God's going to work it out because he's God. And it's like, well, did God want you to do that? Is that what you're called to do? Did you use wisdom? Did you explore this business that you're starting? Like, you know what I mean?
As you were speaking and talking about how trusting God looks different depending on what it is you're doing, where two people can do the exact same thing, but one person could be trusting God and the other could be relying on their own strength. And, you know, so in my agendas, like, I haven't done it in my recent ones. I should really get back to it. But I always write the Bible verse. It's somewhere in Proverbs. I'm not too sure where, but it's where it says, man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. And that has been something that has been like my guidepost, because as a planner, I could easily want to take things into my own hands. Be like, okay, I've got this idea. I know what I'm doing. And then I'll consult God after. Whereas it should be more of okay, this is what I have that I think I should be doing. Lord, what are the ways in which I can optimize where it is that you want me to go? Like maybe I'll have something on this day. And it's like, oh no, it doesn't need to be like that. I should add some flexibility to allow the Holy Spirit, to allow God to lead me in what it is that I should be doing or what he has for me. And that could look different. It's not always this like, oh, God told me and now I must do. Sometimes it's this plan has been canceled, though I was like, okay, I need to do this day because I'm going to be stressed and I don't want to, you know. It's
Right.
more of like, if it doesn't happen this day, that's okay. Something else more important might have came up, or that could have led to a whole different trajectory of where the week is supposed to go. Like, it doesn't need to always be this
Set in
here,
stone.
it doesn't need to be set in stone. It could have some flexibility.
Yeah.
And even as the years have gone by, like I had said, someone that deals with anxiety, so I used to always need everything to be set in stone and this rigid schedule. And if it doesn't happen that way, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. But learning and allowing that flexibility and allowing God to like work through that rigidity that I had, I've been able to, that anxiety doesn't grips me up as heavily.
Grips me up. Guess what island Jaida comes from?
It doesn't grips me up as much as it used to, because I'm like, okay, regardless of if this happens here, now, or later, God has got this. Like, I'm gonna be able to handle it when it happens.
Ooh, you better preach.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's facts,
no,
though.
honestly.
And I think what you're saying is very important, because it, like you said, I want to take a moment to emphasize the fact that it doesn't mean that your whole day has to be a wash. You can still be productive. Your week can still flow in a different direction. But being open to that, as you're saying, like being open to that allows you not to be so defeated the minute something
goes wrong.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's so crazy, because recently I have I also am very like
meticulous,
compartmentalized.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that was like something that me and Jaida like connected. Now we're like, oh, you a little weird too. So the only like one of our biggest differences is though Jaida does her stuff like in books. I do everything online. So I have like my Notion that I've literally put pretty much every one of my friends on now. And I looked back at what I had wrote for where I was at the beginning of the year and where I wanted to be at the end of the year. If you asked me how my year was, I would have told you trash, like in what I wanted to accomplish and how kind of the year went. But when I read what I wanted to accomplish, I actually got through a decent amount of what it was that I said I wanted to accomplish. If you ask me how, I have no idea. Because what I think about how my year went, I see like all of the spaces that were filled with like a lot of worry of I'm not going to get this done, or I'm not doing this, so this is not happening. But in the same way, I had made the plan and God ordered my steps. I had made a plan, and I had made a plan of how my steps should have looked like. But God switched them around and we still got to the end.
Still made it. Wow.
So I think that's super interesting to note. And like, it kind of like helped me realize that like, I think Shai told me this one time, and it was like, worry is worship to the devil.
Oh, I've heard that before. Yeah.
I was like, now thinking that like, when I make these plans, knowing that God is going to order my steps, in order to like trust God, I cannot put the same characteristics on God that I put on myself.
Right.
I can't put that same like, God didn't come through, and then like, he didn't come through and things. So I'm not going to take it as seriously, but I was doing that. And I was worrying about how the end is going to look and how this is going to happen. But I have to like keep in mind that God is God. God is not me. God, he's not flaky like I am sometimes. And my actions need to align with that.
What was the Bible verse you used from Proverbs? Do you remember?
Where in Proverbs?
Yeah.
If I had to guess, probably like Proverbs 16.
I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can.
You
Find
have two
32,
big Bible right
I
there,
guess.
man.
What was the verse?
Man plans his way, but the Lord
Establishes his steps.
Proverbs 16 verse 9.
Oh, see, I was close. I was 16:32.
Okay, we're gonna drop that. We're gonna drop that in the link for you guys. Okay, that's a King James.
I thought so, because I'm like, that is not what this is.
Nobody reads King James anymore. You know what?
It's like, a man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't like the Shakespearean. You know what? If you like Shakespeare, like this video. If you don't, still like this video. If you like us or you like the content, like the video. So comment what are you trusting God for? If there's something that you're struggling with or that you're working on and you're doing well with, comment. Let us know down in the comments what you're trusting God for. Like this video, subscribe. Also hit the little bell notification. That way, next time we drop a video, you guys will know right away.
And remember, you're still good soil.
Yeah, we rockin' with the good stuff.